Your mom has plenty. She won't even notice, my daughter-in-law said, snatching my credit card without asking. She ran off into the mall, laughing, but when she went to pay for the luxury handbags, the cashier looked at the screen and said in a serious voice, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this card has been reported stolen by its owner." Let me tell you what happened that day in the boutique at the Oakbrook Center Mall. The day my daughter-in-law discovered I wasn't the naive old woman she thought I was. But before we get to that moment, you need to understand how a woman like me, Eleanor Anderson, owner of 5 prosperous dry cleaners in Chicago, ended up being robbed by her own family. And not just robbed of money, they stole something worse: my dignity, my home, my peace. If you have ever been made to feel invisible in your own life, if someone you love has betrayed you with a smile, then this story is for you. Stay until the end, because what I did next, nobody saw coming. And if this story touches your heart, subscribe to the channel for more real confessions just like this. I am 67 years old. Most people look at me and think, poor old lady, all alone in that big house. But I didn't get here by being poor or by being a victim. I built a business from scratch when my husband, Arthur, barely made enough for rent. While he worked at a hardware store, I was washing and pressing other people's clothes in the basement of our little duplex in Lakeview. 42 years later, I had 5 dry cleaners. 5. With employees, loyal customers, contracts with hotels. My Greystone in Lincoln Park? I paid for that. The furniture, the green velvet curtains, the Limoges china I inherited from my mother, the Persian rugs I bought one by one over the years. I built all of it. Arthur died 3 years ago. A heart attack while watching the news. Quick, painless, the doctors told me. But for me, it felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. 45 years of marriage. You don't just forget that. My 2 children already had their own lives. Lauren, my oldest, lives in Austin with her husband and 3 kids. We talk every week, but her life is down there. And Evan, my youngest son, he moved to Spain 15 years ago. He said there weren't opportunities in America for an engineer like him. I supported him. I gave him money for the ticket for the first few months to get settled. At first, he called often. Then, less and less. Christmases over video chat. Birthdays over text message. I understood. Or at least, I told myself I did, so I wouldn't feel that emptiness that grows when your children don't need you anymore. The house felt enormous without Arthur. Every room held a memory. The living room where we played cards on Sundays. The kitchen where he'd have his coffee while reading the paper. The garden where we planted the bougainvillea that now covers the entire wall. I'd get up every morning at 6. Make coffee in the Italian mocha pot Arthur gave me for our 20th anniversary. I'd sit in the dining room with my cup, looking out the window onto the quiet Lincoln Park Street, and I'd think, why did I work so hard if I'm just going to be here alone? But I didn't crumble. I'm not the type to sit around crying. I kept up with my dry cleaners, visiting each one twice a week, checking the books, talking with my employees. I read novels in the afternoons, went to church on Sundays, and took a painting class on Thursdays at a studio near Millennium Park. And then, 6 months ago, Evan called. "Mom, I have incredible news," he said, with that excited voice I hadn't heard in years. I got married. I went quiet. Married. My son had gotten married, and I didn't even know he had a girlfriend. Her name is Isabella. She's Spanish, Mom. She's wonderful. And we're moving back to Chicago. My heart leaped. My son, coming home. After 15 years. I thought it was a miracle. I thought God had heard my prayers from all those silent nights. "We need a place to stay while we find an apartment," he continued. "Do you think we could stay with you for a few weeks? A month, max. I promise." "Of course, sweetheart," I answered without hesitation. "This is your home." They arrived on a Tuesday in February. It was raining. I had cleaned the entire house, prepared the upstairs bedrooms, bought fresh flowers for the entryway table. I had tamales I'd specially ordered from a place in Pilsen, sweet bread from the local panaderia, fresh cut fruit. When I opened the door, I barely recognized Evan, thinner, gray at the temples, with that tired look of someone who has struggled. But he smiled when he saw me. "Mom," he said, and gave me a tight hug. Behind him was her. Isabella was tall, blonde, with straight hair down to her shoulders. She wore a beige trench coat that looked expensive, black high-heeled boots, pearl earrings. She had that kind of cold, elegant beauty. I guessed she was about 32, 33 years old. "Eleanor," she said, with a strong but melodic Spanish accent. She leaned in and kissed both my cheeks. "It is so nice to finally meet you. Evan has told me so much about you." She smelled like French perfume. Chanel, I think. Her skin was perfect, no wrinkles, no blemishes. Her nails were an impeccable shade of red. "Welcome, dear," I said, because that's how I was raised. Family is sacred. They came in with their suitcases. Isabella looked around the house with those blue eyes that seemed to be assessing everything. She stopped in front of my Persian rugs. "How quaint," she said. I wasn't sure if it was a compliment or a criticism. I showed them their room, the one that was Evan's as a boy, but that I had remodeled years ago. New queen-sized bed, big closet, private bathroom. "It's cozy," Isabella said, looking at the floral comforter I had picked out so carefully. That night, I had dinner with them. I served the tamales, the hot cocoa, the sweet bread. Evan ate eagerly, smiling. Isabella barely touched her food. "It's just that in Spain we eat differently, Eleanor," she explained, touching her stomach. "My digestion is delicate." "Oh, of course, don't worry. Tomorrow I'll make something lighter." I went to bed happy that night. My son was home. Finally, after 3 years of loneliness, there were voices in this house again. I didn't know that happiness would last exactly 11 days. On day 12, I found my credit card outside of my wallet. A coincidence? I thought so at first, too. But what I discovered next chilled me to the bone. The first few days with Evan and Isabella in the house were like living in a movie I had waited years to see. I'd wake up early, as always, but now with a purpose. I made coffee for 3, set the table with the embroidered tablecloth I saved for special occasions. I cut up fresh fruit, papaya, melon, pineapple, and warmed the sweet bread. The kitchen smelled like a home again. Evan would come down first, his hair messy, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. He'd sit in the same chair he sat in as a boy. "It smells just like when I was a kid, Mom," he'd say, smiling. Those moments filled my chest with something I hadn't felt since Arthur died. Purpose, usefulness, love. Isabella would come down an hour later, always perfectly put together, hair brushed, light makeup, clothes that coordinated down to her socks. Never sweatpants or pajamas, always designer yoga sets or casual dresses that cost what I earned in a week from one of the cleaners. "Good morning, Eleanor," she'd say, kissing my cheek. Always polite, always smiling. At first, I loved it. "Oh, what a beautiful house you have," she'd say while sipping her green tea, because coffee was too hard on her system. "Evan never told me you lived so well." "Well, yes. Thank God we've been fortunate," I'd reply modestly, though inside I felt proud. I had worked 40 years for this house. "And you have a cleaning lady, I assume?" she asked, looking at the clean house. "No, I do everything myself. I like to stay active." Her eyes widened. "You clean this entire house by yourself?" "Eleanor, at your age, you should be resting. Let me help you." She offered to go to the supermarket with me, to accompany me to the bank, to organize my closet which, according to her, had potential but needed a European eye. Evan spent his mornings on his laptop, looking for a job, sending out resumes, doing video interviews. I'd bring him coffee, ask him how it was going. "It's tough, Mom. I've been gone for 15 years. Nobody knows me here anymore." "Have patience, sweetheart. Something will turn up." Isabella wasn't looking for work. When I asked her, she told me, "I'm in a process of personal reinvention, Eleanor. In Spain, I worked in marketing, but here I want to find something that truly feeds my soul." I nodded, though I didn't really understand what that meant. "In my day, you worked wherever there was work. The soul got fed by the paycheck." But I didn't say anything. I didn't want to seem old-fashioned. One afternoon, Isabella went with me to the bank. I was going to check my accounts, sign some papers for the dry cleaners. She offered to drive me in the car they'd rented. With my money, though I learned that later. While I stood in line, she looked at everything: the screens, the brochures, the people taking money from the ATMs. "Do you have a savings account, Eleanor?" she asked on the way back. "Yes, of course." "And the dry cleaners are in your name?" "Yes, everything is in my name. Arthur and I were always very organized about that." "That's good," she said, smiling. "It's important for a woman to have her own assets secured." I liked that she said that. It made me feel modern, independent. What I didn't like was when, 2 days later, I found my bank statements on the dining room table. I kept them in my desk, in my bedroom. "Isabella?" I called. She came out of the kitchen, drying her hands. "Yes, Eleanor? Did you move these papers?" "Oh, forgive me. I was looking for a pen and saw them." I glanced at them without thinking. "Forgive my indiscretion." She put her hand to her chest, looking ashamed. "It's just that in Spain, we're very direct about money in the family. I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't know what to say." Technically, she hadn't done anything wrong. She just looked at papers that were sitting out. "Don't worry about it," I said, putting them away. But something small, very small, twisted uncomfortably in my stomach. Isabella started cooking. Spanish dishes I'd never tried. Tortilla con patatas, paella, gazpacho. Effin ate happily. I tasted them and praised her, even though I missed my own casseroles, my stews, my soups. "You should rest more, Eleanor," Isabella would say, serving the food. "Let me handle the kitchen." And I felt displaced in my own home, but I didn't want to be ungrateful. She was being kind. A week later, Isabella suggested redecorating the living room. "These Persian rugs are beautiful," she said, stroking one with her foot, "but they're very heavy. The house would feel so much more open with the hardwood floors exposed. More minimalist, more European." I loved those rugs. I had bought them one by one on my trips with Arthur. The one in the living room we bought in Turkey on our delayed honeymoon, when we could finally travel after years of saving. Every thread held a memory. "I like them this way," I said, softly but firmly. Of course. It was just an idea." She smiled. But I saw something in her eyes. Something I couldn't identify then. Evan spoke less and less. He spent hours on his laptop, quiet, tense. When I asked him how he was, he'd just say, "Fine, Mom. Just tired." One night, I heard them arguing in their room. Low, harsh voices. I couldn't make out the words, but I understood the tone. Evan sounded frustrated. Isabella sounded controlling. The next morning, Isabella came downstairs beaming. "Eleanor, I have a wonderful idea. What if we go shopping, just you and me? A girls' day." I had never had a girls' day. I'd worked my whole life. My friends were clients, neighbors, women from church. But the idea excited me. I'd love that. We went to the Magnificent Mile. Isabella knew every store. We went into boutiques where the dresses cost more than my monthly rent from 20 years ago. "Try this on," she'd say, handing me clothes. "This color is divine on you." I tried things on, uncomfortable. The clothes were pretty, but they weren't me. They were clothes for women in their 30s, not their 60s. "I don't know, Isabella." "Oh, Eleanor, you have to update your look. You're too beautiful to dress like, well, like an old lady." "Like an old lady?" I was an old lady. I didn't buy anything that day. But Isabella did. 3 blouses, a handbag, shoes. At the register, when she pulled out her card, the charge was declined. "Oh, how strange," she said. "It must be a problem with the Spanish bank." She looked at me. "Eleanor, could you lend me yours? I'll pay you back as soon as I sort this out." I gave her my card. It was $850. "I'll pay you back next week, I promise." She never paid me back a cent, and that was just the beginning. Because 2 days later, my credit card turned up in a place I hadn't left it. And when I saw that month's statement, I understood I had let a wolf dressed as a daughter-in-law into my house. There are moments in life when your gut screams that something is wrong, but your heart, that foolish heart, tells you you're exaggerating, that you're being paranoid, that you're seeing ghosts where there are none. I ignored my gut, and it almost cost me everything. It was a Thursday morning. I always kept my gold credit card in the same place, the inner compartment of my wallet, inside my purse, which hung on the hook in my bedroom. Always. 40 years of the same routine. That morning, when I went to get it to pay the gas bill, it wasn't there. My heart skipped a beat. I checked every compartment. Nothing. I emptied my entire purse onto the bed. Nothing. Did I leave it somewhere else? I thought. But I never left things somewhere else. I'm one of those people who has a place for everything. I went downstairs, searching. I checked the kitchen, the dining room, the living room, and then I saw it, my gold card. On the entryway table, next to a vase. I stared at it like it was a snake. I never, ever left my card there. That vase was right by the front door. Anyone who walked in could see it. Eleanor, are you looking for something? Isabella was coming down the stairs, freshly showered, her wet hair wrapped in a towel. She was wearing my robe, my pink silk robe that Lauren had given me for my birthday. Isabella, is that my robe? Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Mine is in the wash. And I was cold. Does it bother you? Yes, it bothered me. But how could I say that without sounding petty? No, it's fine. Just let me know next time. Of course. She smiled. She saw the card in my hand. You found it? Good. I saw it there this morning and thought you must have dropped it. You put it there? No, it was already there when I came down. But I hadn't put it there. I knew it. I was absolutely certain. Ah, well, thank you. I went up to my room, put the card back in my wallet, and for the first time since they arrived, I locked my bedroom door. The next few days were a collection of small, strange things. My checkbook appeared open on the dining room table. I was looking for paper to make a list, Isabella said. I found Isabella in my closet, looking through my jewelry. What lovely old pieces you have, Eleanor. Tell me their stories. Evan got a call and went out into the garden. He spoke in low, nervous tones, looking back as if he didn't want to be overheard. My Limoges china, the set I inherited from my mother and only used on Christmas, appeared in the everyday pantry. I moved it to make it easier to reach, Isabella explained. At your age, you shouldn't be climbing step stools for plates. At my age, she was 32, and I was 67, a 35-year difference. But she spoke as if I were a senile old woman. I can climb steps perfectly fine, Isabella. Of course. I just want to take care of you. One afternoon, Isabella accompanied me to one of my dry cleaners. The one in Wicker Park, the oldest one. The first one I opened when Evan was just 5 years old. We arrived, and my employees greeted me warmly. Brenda, who's been with me for 25 years, gave me a hug. Mrs. Anderson, so good to see you. And who is this young lady? This is Isabella, Evan's wife. Brenda smiled politely, but I saw how her eyes sized Isabella up. Brenda knows people. She has that gift. Isabella looked around the business. The washing machines, the industrial presses, the racks of clean clothes wrapped in plastic, the counter where we serve customers. And how much does this place bill in a month? She asked, point blank. Brenda and I looked at each other. That's private, dear, I said, uncomfortable. Oh, forgive me. It's just that Evan and I are looking at business options, and I thought that maybe you could use some help managing things. With age, these things get heavy. Again with the age. As if being 67 automatically made me useless. I manage my businesses perfectly well, Isabella. I've been doing it for 40 years. Yes, of course. I didn't mean to offend. But she had offended, and Brenda noticed. When Isabella went to the restroom, Brenda leaned in. Mrs. Anderson, she said quietly, be careful with that one. Why do you say that? I don't know. Something in her eyes. I've seen a lot of people in my life, and she has the eyes of someone who's calculating. I wanted to defend Isabella, to tell Brenda she was wrong. But I couldn't. Because deep down, I had noticed it too. That night, my bank statement arrived. I sat in my room with the door locked and opened the envelope. My heart stopped. $84,700 in 1 month. $84,700. I never spent more than $2,500 a month. And that included utilities, food, gas, everything. I checked every line item. There were charges I didn't recognize. Alinea Restaurant, $1,200. Spa on the Gold Coast, $1,800. Boutique on Oak Street, $9,500. Tiffany's, $18,000. Nordstrom, $6,700. Saks Fifth Avenue, $8,900. A salon, $2,400. And more. So much more. My hands were shaking. I went downstairs with the statement clenched in my fist. Evan was in the living room, watching TV. Isabella wasn't there. "Evan," I said. My voice sounded strange, hard. "I need to talk to you." He saw my face and turned pale. "Mom." I put the paper in front of him. "Explain this." He read it in silence. His shoulders slumped. "Mom, I can explain." "I'm listening." "Isabella needed clothes for job interviews. And, well, she comes from a wealthy family in Spain. She's used to certain things. I didn't want her to feel bad here. $84,000 in clothes? I was going to pay you back, Mom, as soon as I get a job. When? Evan? When are you going to get a job? When are you going to pay this back? I had never spoken to him like that. Never. I was the mom who forgave everything, who understood everything, who justified everything. But you don't justify $84,000. Evan put his face in his hands. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm really, really sorry." Just then, Isabella walked in. She was carrying shopping bags. More bags. She saw the statement in Evan's hands. Her face changed. "Eleanor," she started. No, I cut her off. "Don't talk to me." She looked at me, surprised, as if she couldn't believe I was standing up to her. "I just wanted to spend my money without permission, to use my card as if it were yours." Her eyes filled with tears, perfect tears that rolled down her cheeks without ruining her makeup. "I can't believe you're talking to me like this," she said in a broken voice. "After everything we suffered in Spain, after we lost everything. We came here looking for family support, and you treat us like thieves." Evan stood up. "Mom, Isabella is right. We've been through a lot. I thought you'd understand." And there I was, the villain, the bad guy, the one who didn't understand. Isabella was crying in Evan's arms. He was looking at me with disappointment. "I'm sorry," I said finally. The words just came out. "You're right. I'm sorry. Why did I apologize? Why did I, the one who had been robbed, end up asking for forgiveness? Because I was afraid. Afraid of losing my son again. Afraid of being alone. Afraid they would leave and never come back. That night in my bed I cried. I cried like I hadn't cried since Arthur died. And the worst part was that I knew, deep down I knew, this was only the beginning. Because what I heard 3 nights later, at 2 a.m, confirmed that I wasn't crazy. I was being hunted. There are silences that weigh more than words, and there are words that destroy more than any blow. The ones I heard that early morning broke me into pieces. After I apologizing, can you believe it? The house became uncomfortable. Isabella barely spoke to me. Evan avoided my gaze. I felt like an intruder in my own home. I started locking myself in my room after dinner. I'd go up early, get into bed, and read until sleep overcame me. Or I'd pretend to read, because the truth is I was turning pages without understanding a thing. My head wouldn't stop spinning. Am I exaggerating? Am I just a bitter old woman? Is it really so bad that my daughter-in-law used my card? But $84,000. $84,000 wasn't a family favor. It was theft. I tried to talk to Lauren, my daughter in Austin. I called her one afternoon when Evan and Isabella were out. "Mom, how are you?" she asked, in that busy voice of someone with a million things on her mind. "Fine, honey. Listen, do you have a minute?" "A quick one, Mom. The kids get out of school in 10 minutes. I told her. I told her everything. The spending, the things disappearing, the discomfort. "Mom," she said with a sigh, "Evan just got back. Give him time. He's probably going through a hard time." "But Lauren." "Mom, you have money. It's not like you're going to be out on the street for lending them a little." They're family. And Isabella is his wife. You have to accept her. I fell silent. Mom, I really have to go. We'll talk later, okay? I love you. She hung up. I sat there in the living room with the phone in my hand, feeling more alone than ever. Not even my own daughter understood me. The days passed. Isabella started smiling at me again, but it was a different smile, colder. As if I had failed a test, and now she knew exactly who I was, a stupid old woman with money. She started making changes to the house to help me. My Persian rugs disappeared. Eleanor, they were so old and full of dust. I took them to be cleaned, she said. They'll be back in 2 weeks. They never came back. When I asked, Isabella shrugged. Oh, how strange. I'll have to call the cleaning company. My rugs. The ones I bought with Arthur. The one from Turkey. The one from Morocco. The one from Iran we found in an antique market in Tehran. 40 years of memories, trampled and wrapped in lies. Next was my Limoges china, the set I inherited from my mother. 18 pieces of French porcelain with gold rims that my mom had cared for her entire life like a treasure. One day I came home and found the china box in the garage. Open. Empty. Isabella? I called. My voice was trembling. She came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She seemed calm. Too calm. Where is my china? Oh, Eleanor, I am so sorry. It broke. It broke? All of it? I was washing it, and one piece slipped, and when it fell, it broke the others. You know how porcelain is, so delicate, a lie. That was a lie. China doesn't break in a chain reaction like dominoes. Where are the pieces? I threw them out. I didn't want you to feel bad seeing them all broken. I stared at her. She held my gaze without blinking. Isabella, that china was from my mother. I know, and I am truly, truly sorry. She paused. But Eleanor, they're just plates. They're things. What's important is family, right? Just plates. 18 pieces of my history, reduced to just plates. I turned around and went up to my room. I closed the door. I sat on the edge of my bed and cried. But this time, they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage. Evan got home that night, and I confronted him. Your wife broke your grandmother's china. It was an accident, Mom. An accident? 18 pieces? She already apologized. What more do you want? What more did I want? I wanted my son to defend me. I wanted him to see what I saw. I wanted him to believe me. Evan, something is wrong here. What's wrong is your attitude, Mom. His voice hardened. Isabella is doing everything possible to help you, to modernize this house, to take care of you. And you just criticize her. Take care of me? By spending my money and breaking my things? You're living in the past, Mom, clinging to old things. Dusty rugs, plates you never used. Isabella is doing you a favor. I froze. A favor, I repeated. Yes, a favor. Maybe you should thank her instead of attacking her. He left my room, slamming the door. I just stood there, in the middle of my room, feeling my world fall apart. My son who I held in my arms, whose scraped knees I bandaged, who I supported through college, who I paid for a ticket to Spain so he could follow his dreams. That son had just told me I was living in the past. I couldn't sleep that night. I tossed and turned, stared at the ceiling, listened to the sounds of the house. At 2 a.m, I got up. I was thirsty. I went downstairs in silence, barefoot, in the dark. The kitchen light was on. I heard voices. I stopped in the hallway, hidden in the shadows. You can't keep this up, Evan. You have to press her harder. It was Isabella's voice. Low but firm. I don't know, Isabella. She's my mother. Your mother has plenty. 5 dry cleaners, this house, savings. And what does she do with it all? Nothing. She sits here getting old, surrounded by old junk. But, listen to me. In 2 more years, 3 max, with the Alzheimer's that's starting to set in, we can convince her to sign over power of attorney. Legally. No problems. My blood ran cold. Isabella, my mom doesn't have Alzheimer's, not yet, but she's 67. At that age, any forgetfulness, any confusion can be the beginning, and we just have to help her believe she's worse off than she is. Silence. I don't know if I can do that, Evan said. His voice was weak, frightened. Do you want to go back to Spain with nothing? Keep sending out resumes that nobody answers? Live in a 400-square-foot apartment while your mother lives here like a queen? Isabella paused. She had her life, Evan. 40 years of building. Now it's our turn. But she's my mother. Your mother. Or our future. Decide. The silence that followed was worse than any words. Because Evan didn't say no. He didn't stand up, indignant. He didn't confront her. He just stayed quiet. And that silence meant he was considering it. I went back up the stairs in silence, carefully placing each foot. I got into my room, closed the door without a sound. I sat on my bed in the darkness. I was shaking. My whole body was shaking. It wasn't paranoia. I wasn't exaggerating. I wasn't crazy. My daughter-in-law was planning to steal from me. And my son. My son was letting her. Alzheimer's. They were going to make me believe I had Alzheimer's to take everything. In that moment, something inside me changed. No more tears. No more apologies. No more being the victim. If they wanted to play dirty, I was going to teach them who invented the game. Because Isabella made one mistake. A huge mistake. She underestimated the old woman. And this old woman didn't build an empire from scratch by being stupid. They say the greatest pain doesn't come from your enemies. It comes from the people you love, while you're still loving them. I loved my son, and he was burying me alive. After that night, something inside me hardened, like when clay turns to brick after the fire. I was still me, but tougher, stronger, more dangerous. I made a decision that night. I wasn't going to confront them. Not yet. First, I needed to understand just how far their plan went. I needed proof. I needed a strategy. So I acted. I acted like the confused old woman they wanted me to be. The next morning, I went down to breakfast as usual. Isabella was making her green tea. Evan was checking his phone. "Good morning," I said in a soft voice. "Morning, Mom," Evan replied without looking up. Isabella studied me, looking for signs that I had heard them. I smiled at her. "Did you sleep well, Eleanor?" "Yes, dear. Although I did get up in the night for some water. My age, you know. You get up a lot during the night." I saw her eyes glitter. I had given her exactly what she wanted. A reminder of my age, my weakness. "Oh, Eleanor. You know, that can be a sign of many things. You should see a doctor. Get a full checkup. Maybe you're right. In fact," Isabella continued, pouring my coffee, "I've noticed you sometimes forget where you leave things, like your card or your keys. It's normal at your age, but it wouldn't hurt to get it checked out." There it was. The first hook. "You think so?" "Just as a precaution, Eleanor." Evan looked at her. She looked back at him. A silent message passed between them. "Yeah, Mom," Evan said. "Isabella's right. A checkup wouldn't hurt." I nodded. I drank my coffee. I acted as if her words had worried me. The following days were a silent game of chess. Isabella began helping me more aggressively. She went into my closet without permission and started pulling out boxes of my belongings. "Eleanor, we need to clean this out. You have clothes from 20 years ago. They don't fit you. They're not in style." I found black trash bags full of my clothes in the garage, dresses I wore to important weddings, the sweater my sister knitted for me, the scarf Arthur gave me for our 30th anniversary. "Isabella, those clothes are mine. They were yours, Eleanor. Past tense. You have to let go of the past." Evan was standing right there, watching. He said nothing. "Evan," I called him. "Say something." "Mom, Isabella is just trying to help. The house really is too full." Full. My house was full of my life, and they were emptying it. But I didn't say anything else. I just carried the bags back up to my room when they weren't around. I checked every piece. Some had bleach stains on them. Ruined on purpose. One day, I came home from the cleaners and found my living room rearranged. The furniture in different places. The paintings Arthur and I had bought on our travels stacked against the wall. In their place were cheap prints from IKEA. "Do you like it?" Isabella asked. She was proud. I gave it a more modern, fresher touch. "Where are my paintings?" "In the garage." They were so dark, so depressing. This house needed light. Those paintings were worth over $300,000. The small abstract, the landscape from a local artist Arthur had discovered, the European piece. Arthur had collected them for years. "Isabella, those paintings are works of art." "Oh, Eleanor, they're just old paintings by dead men. Nobody puts those things in their house anymore." I felt the rage rise in my throat, but I swallowed it. "It's fine," I said. "Whatever you want." Isabella smiled, victorious. But that night, when they were asleep, I went down to the garage. I brought every painting back up. I hid them behind my wardrobe. They weren't going to sell them. They weren't going to give them away. They weren't going to destroy them. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. I walked through the hallways, and it was like being in a hotel. Everything was changed. The smells were different. Isabella's perfume had replaced the scent of wood and lavender my house always had. The kitchen had products I didn't buy. The fridge was full of European foods I didn't eat. My pantry, reorganized by Isabella, was a labyrinth where I couldn't find anything. One day, I was looking for my ceramic sugar bowl, the one I used every day for my coffee. It was gone. "Isabella, did you see my sugar bowl? That ugly green ceramic thing?" "I threw it out, Eleanor. It was all chipped." "It wasn't chipped. My mother gave it to me." "Well, now you have this one." She showed me a stainless steel sugar bowl. Modern, soulless, no history. Evan walked into the kitchen. He saw my face. "What's wrong?" Isabella threw out my sugar bowl. "Mom, for God's sake, it's a sugar bowl." "It was my mother's. And now you have another one." "What's the problem?" The problem was that they were erasing me. Piece by piece, memory by memory. They were pushing me out of my own life. That afternoon, I locked myself in my room. I sat on the edge of my bed and looked around. It was the only space that was still mine. The only place Isabella hadn't invaded. Yet. I took out my phone. I called Mark Bennett, my lawyer. The same one who had helped me set up the dry cleaners, who organized the estate when Arthur died. "Mark, I need to see you. Urgently. And I don't want anyone to know." "Are you okay, Eleanor?" "No. But I'm going to be." We met 2 days later at his office. I didn't tell Evan or Isabella. I told them I was going to the doctor, which, technically, wasn't a lie. I was going to cure a disease. Naivety. "Tell me," Mark said, closing his office door. And I told him. Everything. The spending. The missing items. The conversation I heard in the middle of the night. Mark listened in silence. When I finished, he took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "Eleanor, are you certain about what you heard?" "Completely. Then we need to act fast. If they're thinking about power of attorney, they're going to start planting doubts about your mental capacity. They'll try to get you to sign things without you realizing it. What do I do? First, we protect your assets. We change beneficiaries. We create an ironclad trust. No one, absolutely no one, can touch your money without your express authorization in front of a notary. Do it. Second, we document everything. Do you have proof of the spending?" I showed him the bank statements. "Perfect. This is evidence of financial abuse." "And the conversation?" "Just my word. Not enough for a legal case. But it's enough to protect you." He paused. "Eleanor, I'm going to tell you something difficult. If this goes further, you're going to have to choose between your money and your son." "I've already chosen," I said. And I was surprised by the firmness in my voice. "I spent 40 years building this. I'm not giving it away out of fear of being lonely." Mark smiled. That's the Eleanor I know. We spent 3 hours in his office. I signed papers. I changed my will. I created a trust that protected 80% of my assets. I updated beneficiaries. Lauren would get 60%. Charities would get 40%. Evan, nothing. Not because I didn't love him, but because loving him didn't mean letting him destroy me. One more thing. I told Mark before I left. I need security cameras in my house. Cameras? In the common areas. That's legal, right? As long as they're not in bathrooms or private bedrooms, Yes. Then I need the best. And I need no one to know they're there. Mark nodded. I know someone. I'll send you his contact info. 2 days later, while Isabella and Evan were out looking for work, or so they said, a technician came to my house. We installed tiny, nearly invisible cameras in the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, and the entryway. They connected to my phone. I could see everything in real time. If you need to record something specific, just tap here, the technician explained. It saves automatically to the cloud. Perfect. When Evan and Isabella got back, the house looked exactly the same. But now, I had eyes everywhere. And 3 days later, those eyes showed me something that confirmed all my suspicions. What I saw on that recording didn't just break my heart. It gave me the weapon I needed for the war. The truth hurts. But the truth also sets you free. And what I saw on my phone that afternoon freed me from the last shred of guilt I had. It was Tuesday. I had gone to supervise the Lincoln Park cleaner. I left at 11 in the morning and came back at 3 in the afternoon. 4 hours. 4 hours in which Isabella and Evan thought they were alone. I walked into my house and everything seemed normal. Isabella was in the living room, reading a magazine. Evan was in the dining room with his laptop. Hi, Mom, Evan said without looking up. How did it go? Isabella asked with that smile that no longer fooled me. Fine. Tired. I'm going to lie down for a bit. I went up to my room, closed the door, took out my phone. The cameras had recorded everything. I fast-forwarded to 11:15 in the morning, 15 minutes after I left. In the recording, Isabella and Evan waited. They looked up the stairs. Isabella peeked out the window to confirm my car was gone. Then they went up to my room. My room. The only space that was still mine. My heart was beating so hard I thought I would faint. I watched as Isabella opened my closet, went through my clothes, put her hands in the pockets of my blazers, my coats. She was looking for something. Evan opened my dresser drawers. He took out my jewelry, put it on the bed. These emerald earrings must be worth, like, 5,000, Isabella said, picking them up. The camera didn't capture the audio perfectly, but I could read her lips. We can't sell them here, Evan replied. My mom will notice. We'll sell them in Milwaukee or Indianapolis. Far away. Evan hesitated. Isabella. What? Your mom has boxes full of jewelry she never wears. She won't even notice. But I would notice. Arthur gave me those earrings for our 40th anniversary. 2 years before he died. They kept searching. They found documents. My old will, the one I hadn't updated with Mark yet. Isabella read it, smiled. Everything to Evan and Lauren, 50-50, she said. Good, very good. Mom has always been fair, Evan said. Not fair, predictable. Isabella folded the paper. When she signs the power of attorney, this paper won't matter. We'll be able to move everything before she even realizes. And Lauren? Lauren lives in Austin. By the time she finds out, it'll be too late. Evan sat on my bed. On the bed where I slept every night. He looked tired. Sad. I don't know if I can do this. Isabella knelt in front of him. She took his hands. Evan, look at me. We've been struggling for 2 years. 2 years in Spain with no work, no money, living in that horrible apartment. We came here because it was our only option. I know, but your mom had her life. A good life. House, business, marriage. She had everything. We have nothing. She paused. She's 67 years old. How many does she have left? 10? 15? And us? Are we supposed to wait until she dies so we can start living? Don't talk like that. It's the truth. And you know it. Isabella stood up. Besides, we're not taking anything from her. We're just fast-forwarding what would eventually be ours anyway. Technically, it's stealing. Technically, it's an advance on our inheritance. Evan didn't answer. Isabella kept searching. She found my checkbook, took a picture of it with her phone. What's that for? Evan asked. Information. Never hurts to have it. She took out more things. Papers for the dry cleaners, old bank statements, the deed to the house. This house must be worth, like, $3 million, Isabella said, looking at the deed. 3 million, Evan. And your mom here all alone, not even enjoying it. It's her house. For now. Isabella put everything back, carefully, as if they had never been there. When I have power of attorney, it will be our house. The recording continued. I watched them go downstairs, sit in the living room, act as if nothing had happened. I turned off the video. I sat on my bed, the same bed Evan had sat on just hours ago, and I felt something strange. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't surprise. It was clarity. That night, I waited. I waited until 2 in the morning, the same time I had heard them the first time. And as if it were a macabre ritual, at exactly 2, I heard footsteps on the stairs. I went down in silence, hid in the same spot, this time with my phone ready to record. "Did you talk to that notary?" Isabella asked, pouring water. "Yes. He says we need a doctor to certify that my mom has some cognitive decline. That's easy. There are doctors who will sign anything for money." "Isabella, you're talking about fraud. I'm talking about survival." Isabella got close to him. "Look, it's simple. We take your mom to the right doctor. He asks her questions that confuse her. She gets nervous. She gets a few answers wrong. The doctor certifies mild cognitive impairment. Done. With that and the power of attorney, we can start moving money. And if she refuses to sign, she won't refuse, because we'll present it as a good thing. Mom, this is to protect you, so that if anything happens to you, we can help you without legal problems." "She'll sign." Silence. "And then what?" Evan asked. "Then we sell 1 or 2 of the dry cleaners. There are 5. She won't notice if we sell 2. That gives us maybe $1 million. With that, we start our own business. We get our own place. And your mom keeps living here peacefully with her 3 remaining cleaners." It sounds so calculated. It is calculated, because that's how you survive, Evan. Not with sentimentality. And if Lauren finds out? Lauren? Please. Lauren barely talks to your mom. She lives in her own world in Austin with her kids. By the time she notices, it'll all be done. And your mom will say she authorized everything. Because legally, she will have. Evan ran his hands over his face. "I don't know, Isabella. She's my mother. Your mother who emotionally abandoned you for 15 years. Your mother who never visited you in Spain. Your mother who is now making you feel guilty for needing help." Isabella lifted his face. She had her chance to be generous. "She didn't take it. Now it's our turn to take what we need. But she didn't abandon me. I'm the one who left. Because you had no support here. If they had truly supported you, you wouldn't have had to leave. That was the last straw. Because that was a lie. I did support Evan. I paid for his ticket, his first few months. I sent him money when he needed it. I talked to him every time he called. But Isabella was rewriting history, turning me into the villain. And Evan was letting her. On Monday, we go to the doctor, Isabella said. You tell your mom it's a routine checkup. I already have the contact. He'll charge us $3,000 for the certificate, $3,000 for a lie, $3,000 for our future. Evan nodded, slowly, defeated. Okay. And with that one word, my son chose. He didn't choose me. He chose the money. I went back upstairs before they left the kitchen, got into my room, sat in the dark with the phone in my hand. I had it all recorded, video and audio. I had proof. I sat there in silence as I processed what I had just witnessed. 45 years of marriage to Arthur taught me something. In life, there are 2 types of people, those who build and those who destroy. I was always a builder. I built a business. I built a family. I built a life. Isabella was a destroyer, and she was using my son as her tool. But there was something else Arthur taught me. When someone tries to destroy you, you don't stand in front of them. You step aside, and you let them destroy themselves. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront them yet. I was going to give them enough rope to hang themselves. I was going to go to that doctor. I was going to act confused if I had to. I was going to let them think their plan was working. And when they thought they had won, when they were celebrating their victory, that's when I would show them who Eleanor Anderson really was. because the biggest mistake they made wasn't robbing me. It was underestimating me. There's a saying my mother used to repeat, "You snooze, you lose." But there's another one she never said, one that I invented that week. The shrimp that plays dead catches the fisherman. I was going to be that shrimp. The next few days were the hardest of my life. Not because of what was happening, but because of what I had to pretend. I had to act. Act like I knew nothing. Like I hadn't heard them. Like I hadn't seen the videos. Every morning I went down to breakfast and smiled at them. "Good morning, kids." Every night I had dinner with them and asked about their day. "How did it go? Find anything interesting?" And inside, every fiber of my being was screaming. But I said nothing, because I had a plan. On Friday, 3 days after the late-night conversation, I called Mark Bennett from the bathroom of a coffee shop near the park. "Mark, I need to move money. Fast. How much?" $200,000. "In cash?" Silence on the other end. "Eleanor, that's a lot of cash. What for?" "To put it where they can't touch it." "And the rest of your money?" "The trust we created protects the bulk of it. But I want liquid cash available. Just in case." "Understood. When?" "Tomorrow." Mark sighed. "You'll have to go to the bank in person. Withdrawals of that size require in-person authorization." "Perfect. Will you come with me?" "Of course." On Saturday, I told Isabella and Evan I was going to visit my sister in Milwaukee. "Do you need a ride, Mom?" Evan asked. "No, sweetheart. I'm going to take the bus. I like to see the scenery." Isabella looked at me with those calculating eyes. "When will you be back?" "Tomorrow afternoon." "Be careful, Eleanor. At your age, traveling alone can be dangerous." "At my age. Always my age. I'll be fine," I said. And I left with my small suitcase, as if I were really going to Milwaukee. But I didn't go to Milwaukee. I went to the bank. Mark was waiting for me outside. We went in together. The branch manager, who had known me for 20 years, received us in his private office. "Mrs. Anderson, a withdrawal of $200,000 is unusual. Are you sure?" "Completely sure." "May I ask what for?" Mark stepped in. "Private legal matters. Mrs. Anderson is in full command of her faculties and has the right to dispose of her money as she wishes." The manager nodded. "Of course. Just asking as a matter of protocol." It took them 2 hours to get the money ready. $200,000 in 50s and hundreds, all in neat bundles inside 2 canvas bags that looked like ordinary grocery totes. "Where are you going to keep this?" Mark asked when we left. "In a safe deposit box, but not at this bank." We went to another bank, in another neighborhood, under a different corporate name that Mark had set up for me years ago when we established the cleaners. I rented the largest safe deposit box they had. I stored the money. I also stored copies of all the videos, the bank statements, the audio recordings. Proof. All the proof. If anything happens to me, I told Mark, it's all here. "Nothing is going to happen to you, Eleanor. But if it does, if they have me committed somewhere, if I sign something under duress, if I show up at a notary's office saying things I don't remember," I looked him in the eyes. "This box proves I was aware, that I planned this, that I am not crazy." Mark nodded. "I'm your executor. If anything happens, I'll handle everything. Thank you." Afterward, we went to a tech store. I bought a new prepaid phone, not registered in my name. "What's that for?" Mark asked. "In case they take my phone, in case they check my calls, this is my backup." I put the phone in my bag, along with the receipt for the safe deposit box and a copy of the keys. That night, I stayed in a hotel near O'Hare Airport, not in Milwaukee, in Chicago, 30 minutes from my house. I sat on the bed in that anonymous room and looked at myself in the dresser mirror. I was 67 years old, with gray hair I no longer bothered to dye, wrinkles around my eyes, age spots on my hands. But my eyes were alive, alert, furious. "They are not going to win," I said out loud. "They are not going to take what it took me 40 years to build." On Sunday, I returned home. Isabella and Evan were watching TV. "Mom, how was your trip?" Evan asked, getting up to hug me. "Good, honey. Your aunt says hello." "How was the bus?" "Long, tiring. You know, at my age, traveling takes a toll. I saw Isabella and Evan exchange a look. I had given them exactly what they wanted. More evidence of my fragility. "Mom," Evan said, "Isabella and I want to talk to you about something." "Yes?" We think you should get a full medical checkup. You know, just as a precaution. A checkup?" "Yes. We've noticed you've been forgetting things. You get tired more easily. It's normal at your age, but it wouldn't hurt to check." There it was. The first step of their plan. I acted worried. You think something is wrong?" No. Just a precaution, Mom." Isabella jumped in. "In fact, I already made an appointment with an excellent doctor. A geriatrician, a specialist in older adults. It's on Monday at 11. How convenient. They already had it all set up." "Well," I said in a small voice, "if you two think it's necessary, it's for the best, Mom." That night, in my room, I checked the cameras again. I recorded everything. Every word. Every gesture. And Monday arrived. The three of us got in the car. Evan drove. Isabella sat in the front. I sat in the back, like a passenger in my own life. We arrived at a medical office in the Gold Coast. A nice building. Discreet. The doctor received us. He was about 55. Expensive suit. Professional smile. "Mrs. Anderson, a pleasure. I'm Dr. Evans." He had me come into his office. Evan and Isabella stayed outside. "They aren't coming in?" I asked. "Not necessary. This is between you and me." I sat across from his desk. "I'm going to ask you a few questions. They're part of a routine cognitive exam. Nothing to worry about." He began. Questions designed to confuse. To make an older person slip up. "What day is it today?" "Monday, February 24th. "What year is it?" 2025. "Who is the President of the United States?" I answered correctly. "Can you count backward from 100 by sevens? 93, 86, 79, 72, 65. "Perfect. Now, I'm going to give you 3 words. I want you to remember them. I'll ask you for them in 5 minutes. The words are apple, key, hat." He continued with more questions. Some were tricky, others absurd. "What is your son's name?" "Evan." "And your daughter?" "Lauren." "How old are you?" 67. At the end, he returned to the 3 words. "Do you remember the 3 words I told you? Apple, key, hat." I saw the disappointment in his eyes. I had answered everything correctly. "Mrs. Anderson," he said, "I need to ask a few more personal questions. How have you been sleeping?" "Fine." "Have you felt confused lately?" "No." "Do you forget where you leave things?" "Sometimes, just like everyone else." "Have you had trouble recognizing familiar places?" "No." "Do you feel depressed?" There was the trap. If I said yes, I had geriatric depression. If I said no, I was in denial. "I miss my husband sometimes. He died 3 years ago. I'm very sorry." He wrote something on his paper. "Would you say that sadness interferes with your daily life?" "No. It's normal sadness. Grief." He wrote more things. "Very well, Mrs. Anderson. I'm going to speak with your son." He went out. I heard them talking outside. I couldn't make out the words, but I understood the tone. He came back with Evan and Isabella. "Mrs. Anderson's cognitive function is within normal parameters," the doctor said. "There is no evidence of significant decline at this time." I saw Isabella's face fall. "But," she started. "But," the doctor continued, looking at her age, "periodic checkups are recommended. Every 6 months." "Of course," Isabella said, forcing a smile. "Thank you, doctor." In the car, the silence was tense. "See, Mom? Everything's fine," Evan said. But he sounded disappointed. I knew what had happened. The doctor couldn't give them the certificate they needed because I had answered everything right. But they weren't going to give up. This was just the first round. And I was ready for the next one. Because if they wanted a war, I was going to give them a battle they would never forget. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for justice. And justice, I learned, is served with precision. After the doctor's appointment, something in the house changed. Isabella was more tense, Evan quieter. And me? I kept acting. I watched them, studied them, like a scientist studying specimens. Isabella became bolder. She barely even pretended anymore. One day, I saw her coming out of my room with my jewelry box in her hands. "Eleanor," she said, without flinching. "I was just looking at your jewelry. You have beautiful pieces you never wear. Why don't you sell them? You could get good money." "They're memories, Isabella. Memories are in your mind, not in things." She opened the box, took out a pearl necklace. "This, for example. When was the last time you wore it?" "Arthur gave it to me for our 30th anniversary." "Exactly. More than 15 years ago. Why keep it?" She held it up to the light. "This must be worth a few $1,000s. Money we could use." "We? When did my things become our things?" "I don't want to sell it." Isabella sighed, as if I were a stubborn child. "As you wish, Eleanor." But that night, when I checked the jewelry box, the necklace was gone. I looked for it, everywhere. It didn't turn up. "Isabella," I called her. "Did you see my pearl necklace?" "Which necklace?" "The one you were showing me today." "Oh, Eleanor, I didn't take anything." "Are you sure you left it there?" There it was. The seed of doubt. "Are you sure?" As if I were the confused one. As if my mind were failing me. "Yes, I'm sure." "Well, look again. I'm sure it's around somewhere." She smiled. "Sometimes we put things away and then don't remember where." Evan walked into the room. "What's wrong?" "Your mom says she lost a necklace." "I didn't lose it. It disappeared." "Mom, did you check carefully?" "Yes, Evan. I'm not senile." "Nobody said you were senile." But the tone of his voice said exactly that. I turned and left the room, went upstairs, and when I got to my room, I allowed myself, for 1 second, to feel the rage. But only a second. Because rage clouds your judgment, and I needed my judgment clearer than ever. I took out my secret phone. I checked the cameras. I rewound to that afternoon, and there it was. Isabella entering my room, opening the jewelry box, taking the necklace, putting it in her purse. I saved the video, sent it to the cloud. Saved it in 3 different places. One more piece of proof. One more piece of the puzzle. The following days were an escalation. Isabella started forgetting to turn off the gas on the stove. "Oh, I'm sorry, Eleanor. My head is somewhere else." But I knew it was intentional. She wanted to create incidents to prove I was a danger to myself. One day, I found my stovetop burner on, with nothing on it. I hadn't turned it on. "Mom," Evan said, worried, when he came home and saw the burner lit. "Did you turn on the stove?" "No." "But it's on." "I didn't do it." Evan and Isabella looked at each other. That look that said, "She's worse than we thought." "Mom, this is dangerous. You could start a fire." "I'm telling you, I didn't turn it on." "Then who did? The ghost of Dad?" That joke hurt more than anything else, because it came from my son. But I said nothing. I just went to my room. I checked the cameras. Isabella. It had been Isabella. Early in the morning, while I was in the bathroom, she turned on the burner, waited, and when she heard me leaving the bathroom, she left the kitchen, all calculated, all planned. That night, I heard them again. "It didn't work with the doctor," Isabella said. "We need a new approach." "Like what?" "Create situations where she seems dangerous. Incidents. The stove was good." "We need more." "I don't know, Isabella. This is getting out of hand." "Is it? Do you want to go back to Spain with nothing? Keep living off your mom's scraps?" "She's not giving us scraps. She's giving us a roof over our heads. A roof that could be ours. A house that could be ours. Dry cleaners that could be ours." Isabella paused. "Evan, your mom is 67. What's she got left? 10 good years? 15 max? Are you going to wait that long?" Silence. "Look," Isabella continued, "we're not hurting her. We're just speeding up the inevitable." "Speeding up? She's going to get old anyway. She's going to need help anyway. We're just advancing that process. For her own good and for ours." And there it was. The justification. The self-deception. My son, my own son, was allowing this woman to destroy me. And he was convincing himself it was for my own good. The next day, I made a decision. It was time to set the trap. I called my bank. I spoke to the manager. I need a favor, I told him. I want to leave only one of my cards active. The gold one. Cancel the others, temporarily. Any problem, Mrs. Anderson? Something like that. And I need that when that card is used, I get an immediate notification on my phone. That's already set up. Good. And one more thing. If that card is used for an amount over $50,000, I want you to activate a security protocol. What kind of protocol? That the transaction is stopped, that store security is contacted, that you verify with the cardholder before authorizing. The manager hesitated. That is unusual. I'm protecting my assets from potential fraud. I understand. We'll do it. And one last thing. If anyone calls claiming to be my son or daughter-in-law and asks for information on my accounts, give them nothing. Nothing. Only I can authorize information. Of course, Mrs. Anderson. Then I did something else. Something risky. I left my gold card on my dresser, in plain sight, like a shiny lure for a hungry fish, and I faked another trip. I'm going to Guadalajara, I told Evan and Isabella on Thursday. My cousin Consuelo is sick. I'm going to visit her for a few days. When will you be back? Isabella asked. Her eyes were already calculating. Sunday. Do you need a ride to the airport? No, dear. I'll take a cab. I packed my bag, put it in the car, said goodbye. But I didn't go to the airport. I went to a hotel, the same one downtown, near the airport. I rented a room, and I waited. On my phone, the cameras recorded everything. 20 minutes after I left, Isabella went up to my room. I watched her walk directly to my dresser, take the card, smile. Evan, she yelled, look what your mom forgot. Evan came upstairs. He saw the card in Isabella's hand. We should put it away for her. Oh, Isabella smiled. Or we could. Use it. Just a little. She'll never even notice. Isabella. Evan, she has enough. Enough to live 10 lifetimes. And we're here, starving. We're not starving. We're living on her charity. Aren't you tired of it? Don't you want something of your own? I watched Evan hesitate, watched the loyalty to me and the influence of Isabella fight inside him. Isabella won. Fine, he said. But just necessary things. Of course, just the necessities. That afternoon, Isabella went out, alone. I followed her by GPS. Because yes, I had put a tracker in her bag days before. Mark had gotten me a small one, the size of a quarter. She went to the Oakbrook Center Mall, the most luxurious one in the area. She went into a boutique, Hermes. My phone started vibrating. Bank notifications. Pending charge, $8,500. Pending charge, $12,000. Pending charge, $9,800. Over $30,000 in 1 hour. Handbags, shoes, clothes. Then she went to a jewelry store. Tiffany's, pending charge, $18,000. Then Saks Fifth Avenue, pending charge, $6,700. In total, $45,000. $45,000 in one afternoon. Finally, she went into one last boutique, Louis Vuitton. I watched on the mall's security cameras. Yes, I had contacted the head of security and explained my situation, showing him my proof. I watched as Isabella picked out bags, wallets, scarves. She went to the counter, smiling, confident. She handed my card to the cashier. The cashier swiped it. The screen blinked. And then the cashier frowned. She called her supervisor. The supervisor checked the screen. She called security. 2 guards approached. Ma'am, the supervisor said, there's a problem with this card. What problem? It's my mother-in-law's card. This card has been reported stolen by its owner. I watched Isabella turn pale, watched her eyes go wide, watched the smile disappear from her face. That's impossible. It must be a mistake. It's not a mistake, ma'am. The card holder is on the line right now. Would you like to speak with her? And then I, from my hotel room, spoke. Good afternoon. This is Eleanor Anderson, owner of the gold card ending in 4567. I reported it stolen this morning. Mrs. Sanderson, there is a young woman here who says she is your daughter-in-law and has permission to use your card. I have no daughter-in-law with permission to use my cards. That card was stolen from my bedroom. Silence. Isabella grabbed the phone. Eleanor, it's me, Isabella. It's a misunderstanding. I found your card and thought you had forgotten it. That's a lie, I said, my voice firm. You went into my room without permission, you took my card without authorization, and you used it to spend over $40,000 in one day. That's called theft, Isabella. Eleanor, please. I'm not Eleanor to you. I was never your family. I was your victim. I hung up. The guards detained Isabella. And right there, at that moment, in that crowded mall, Isabella's perfect mask finally fell. There are moments in life where everything changes in seconds, where years of pain turn into an instant of absolute clarity. This was one of those moments. Isabella was in the mall, surrounded by security guards, with shopping bags at her feet and my card in the supervisor's hand. People were starting to stop, to watch, to whisper. I left my hotel, took a cab. I got to Oakbrook Center in 20 minutes. When I walked into the Louis Vuitton boutique, Isabella was sitting in a chair, pale, trembling. She was no longer the elegant, confident woman who had walked in an hour ago. She was a cornered thief. She saw me walk in and stood up. Eleanor, thank God. Tell them this is all a misunderstanding. I looked at her, in silence. I let the silence hang in the air. A misunderstanding? I said finally. My voice sounded strange, cold. I didn't recognize it. Going into my room without permission is a misunderstanding? Taking my card is a misunderstanding? Spending $45,000 in one day is a misunderstanding? I was going to pay it back. With what money, Isabella? You don't work. You have no income. What were you going to pay it back with? She opened her mouth. Closed it. She had no answer. The mall's head of security approached. It was the same man I had spoken to days before. Mrs. Anderson, do you want to press charges? Isabella looked at me with pleading eyes. Please, Eleanor, think of Evan. I am thinking of Evan, I said. I'm thinking of my son who let you rob me, who let you into my house, who chose money over his own mother. I took out my phone, the phone with all the recordings. I handed it to the security manager. It's all in here. Videos of her entering my room without permission. Audio recordings of them planning how to take my assets. Evidence that they were looking for a corrupt doctor to certify I have Alzheimer's when I don't. Proof of fraud, manipulation, and systematic theft. The manager looked at the phone. His face changed. This is evidence of premeditated fraud. Exactly. Isabella started to cry. Those perfect tears that always worked on Evan. But they didn't work on me anymore. Please. I'm 32 years old. If I'm charged, my life is over. My life was ending too, Isabella. The difference is, I did nothing to deserve it. My phone rang. It was Evan. Mom? Where are you? Isabella isn't answering. I'm worried. I'm at the Oakbrook Center Mall, the Louis Vuitton boutique. Your wife is being detained for theft. Silence. What? Come here. We need to talk. I hung up. Evan arrived 30 minutes later. He ran in, his hair a mess, scared. He saw Isabella sitting there, flanked by guards. He saw me, standing there, with my lawyer Mark Bennett at my side. Yes, I had called him. He was waiting at a nearby coffee shop. Mom, what is going on? What's going on, I said, is that your wife stole my credit card and spent almost $500,000. Self-correction. $45,000 on clothes and jewelry. What's going on is that you two plan to systematically rob me. What's going on is that my own son betrayed me. Mom, No. I held up my hand. I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't want to hear how you're going to justify the unjustifiable. I took another phone out of my purse. My main phone. I opened the recordings, the camera feed from the house. I showed him the video of Isabella entering my room, taking my jewelry, going through my documents. I showed him the video of them talking in the middle of the night, planning, calculating, deciding how to strip me of everything. Evan watched the screen. His face crumbled with every second. Mom, Listen, I said, and I played the audio from the most recent conversation. Isabella's voice. She's going to get old anyway. She's going to need help anyway. We're just advancing that process. For her own good and for ours. Evan's voice. Fine, but just necessary things. Evan froze. That's your voice, son. Those are your words. You agreed. You participated. I didn't want to. Isabella pressured me. Isabella didn't force you. You chose. You chose the money. You chose comfort. You chose to betray your mother. Isabella stood up. Evan, say something. Defend me. But Evan didn't defend her. He just stood there, staring at the floor, his shoulders slumped. I'm sorry, Mom, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry too, I said. And I meant it. I was sorry that my son, the baby I held in my arms, the young man I supported in his dreams, had gotten lost somewhere along the way. And I didn't know when. Mark stepped in. Mrs. Anderson, you need to decide. Do you press charges, or do we reach an agreement? I looked at Isabella, then at Evan. I am not going to press criminal charges, I said, but on several conditions. Isabella breathed a sigh of relief. First, you return everything you bought today. Now. Every bag, every shoe, every item. Everything. Yes, anything. Second, you sign a document, in front of a notary, where you acknowledge the theft and commit to paying back every dollar you have spent on my cards in the last 6 months. The $84,000 from the first month, plus the $45,000 from today, a total of $129,000. In monthly payments of $1,000. $1,000 a month? I don't have a job. I don't have. Then get one. You're 32 years old. You're young. Work. Either you accept that, or I call the police right now. And believe me, with the proof I have, you will spend years in prison. You decide. Isabella looked at Evan. Evan was staring at the floor. I accept, Isabella said, her voice broken. Third, I continued, you two are out of my house. Today, now, you pack your things and you leave. Mom, we have nowhere to go, Evan said. You should have thought of that before you betrayed me. Mom, please. No. My voice broke for the first time. Don't ask me for mercy when you gave me none. Don't ask me for understanding when you didn't understand my pain. Don't ask me to be your mother when you decided to stop being my son. Evan had tears in his eyes. Mom, I made a mistake. A horrible mistake. But I'm still your son. No, I said. My son died when he chose that woman over his mother. The man standing in front of me is a stranger. The silence that followed was devastating. Mark pulled out some papers. Miss Isabella, sign here. This is the acknowledgement of debt. If you miss a single payment, Mrs. Anderson will proceed with legal action immediately. Isabella signed with a trembling hand. The mall will not be pressing charges, the security manager said, as long as all merchandise is returned now and Mrs. Anderson withdraws the theft report. I withdraw the report, I said. Isabella returned everything, every bag, every box. The guards verified it. You can go, I said. You have until 8 o'clock tonight to get out of my house. Leave the keys on the dining room table. If you are still there at 8:01, I'm calling the police. Evan looked at me one last time. Mom, go, Evan. They left. Isabella crying, Evan dragging his feet like a condemned man. I stayed there, in that boutique full of luxury and pretension, surrounded by strangers who had just witnessed the collapse of my family. Mark put a hand on my shoulder. Are you okay? No, I said honestly. But I'm going to be. I went home 2 hours later. I gave them time to pack. When I arrived, the house was empty. The keys were on the table. A note was next to them. Evan's handwriting. Mom, I know there are no words that can fix what I did. I know I failed you in the worst way possible. I just want you to know that I'm sorry. And that someday, if you let me, I will prove to you that I can be the son you deserved. I love you, Evan. I crumpled the note, threw it in the trash. Then I took it out, smoothed it, put it in a drawer. Because despite everything, despite the pain and the betrayal, he was still my son. And that was the curse and the blessing of a mother's love. That night, I sat in my living room, with the furniture back in its original place, with the paintings I had rescued hanging on the walls again. The house was silent. But it was no longer a heavy silence. It was a clean silence. Liberating. I opened a bottle of wine, the one Arthur and I had been saving for a special occasion and never opened. To us, my love, I said out loud, raising my glass to the ceiling. For everything we built. Thank you for teaching me to be strong. I took a sip. I cried. But this time, I didn't cry from sadness. I cried from relief. Because finally, after months of nightmare, I had gotten back something more valuable than money. I had gotten back my dignity. The first few days after they left were strange. The house was silent. But it was a different silence than the one I felt when Arthur died. That silence was empty, full of absence. This silence was peace. I'd wake up early, as always, make my coffee in the mocha pot, sit in the dining room with my cup, look out the window onto the Lincoln Park street, and for the first time in months, I could breathe without that weight on my chest. The house was mine again. I put my Persian rugs back. Well, the ones I could recover. I called every high-end cleaner in the city, asking about the rugs Isabella had supposedly sent out. I found them at one. She had sold them. I had to buy them back. It cost me $5,000 to get my own rugs back. But I got them. I replaced the Limoges china. It wasn't my mother's. I could never get that back. But I found a similar set in an antique shop. It wasn't the same, but it was beautiful. And it was mine. I changed every lock. Every single one. Not because I was afraid they'd come back, but because I needed to literally lock that chapter. I uninstalled the security cameras. I didn't need them anymore. I trusted my house again. The first few days were for healing, for recovery, for getting to know my own space again. But the nights were hard. Because as much as Evan had betrayed me, he was still my son. And a mother's heart doesn't understand betrayal. It only understands love. I wondered where they were, if they had a place to sleep, if they were okay. And I hated myself for wondering, because they didn't worry about me when they were planning to destroy me. But that's a mother's love. Illogical, unconditional, painful. Lauren called 2 weeks later. Mom, what happened with Evan? He called me crying. Said you kicked him out of the house, I told her. Everything, without omitting a single detail. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Mom, I had no idea. I had no idea things were that bad. I know, honey. I should have listened to you when you told me the first time. I thought you were exaggerating. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. You're not responsible for your brother's decisions. What are you going to do now? Live, Lauren. Just live. A month later, I officially updated my will. Lauren would inherit 60% of everything. The other 40% would go to 3 institutions: a nursing home for abandoned seniors, a foundation for female victims of financial abuse, and a scholarship for low-income students. Evan's name didn't appear anywhere in the will. Mark, my lawyer, asked if I was sure. Completely, I said. Evan is 38 years old. He has his health, he has an education. If he wants something in this life, he can work for it, just like I did. And if he changes, if he redeems himself, then I'll see it. And we'll decide. But I'm not gifting him anything just for being my son. Respect is earned. Trust is rebuilt. And money is worked for. Life went on. I kept managing my dry cleaners. Brenda, my trusted employee, became my right-hand woman. I raised her salary, gave her benefits. She was loyal. And loyalty, I learned, is worth more than gold. I went back to my painting classes on Thursdays. I met a group of women my age who became my friends. We'd go for coffee after class. We'd talk. We'd laugh. One of them, Sarah, told me her own story of abuse by her son. Another, Maria, told me how her daughter-in-law tried to take her house. I wasn't alone. There were thousands of older women living through the same thing, being preyed upon by their own families, and an idea was born. I used some of my money to create a free legal aid program for older women who were victims of familial financial abuse. I hired 3 young lawyers. We rented a small office in Wicker Park. We called the program Silver Dignity. In 6 months, we helped 200 women. We recovered properties. We canceled fraudulent powers of attorney. We prosecuted children, grandchildren, and nephews who were stealing from their elders. I became an activist by accident. I gave interviews on the radio. I wrote articles for newspapers. I spoke at forums on elder rights. My pain became my purpose, and my purpose saved me. 6 months after Evan left, he showed up at my door. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was watering my bougainvillea when the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there he was, thinner, dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled clothes, a beard of several days. "Hi, Mom." My heart jumped, but I didn't open the door all the way. "Evan, can I come in?" "What do you want?" "Just to talk." 5 minutes. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to slam the door in his face. Another part, that stupid part of my heart, wanted to hug him. 5 minutes, I said. "In the garden. You're not coming in the house." We went out to the back garden. We sat in the wrought iron chairs under the bougainvillea. "Where's Isabella?" I asked. "She's gone. Left me 3 months ago. For some businessman in Miami. Someone with real money," he said. Evan laughed bitterly. "You were right. All she cared about was money. I'm sorry." "Don't be. I deserve to lose her. I deserve to lose everything." He looked at me. His eyes were red. "Mom, I'm not here to ask for money. I'm not here to ask you to forgive me. I'm just here to tell you. You were right. About everything. And what does that change?" "Nothing. It changes nothing. But I needed you to know." He paused. "I got a job. At a construction company. It's not much, but it's honest. I'm renting a room in Cicero. It's small, but it's mine. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm going to therapy. Twice a week. To understand how I got to this point. How I let Isabella manipulate me. How I betrayed my own mother." I looked at him. I really looked at him. And I saw something different. It wasn't the arrogant Evan who arrived with Isabella months ago. It wasn't the weak man who let his wife rob me. It was someone broken, but trying to put himself back together. "What do you want from me, Evan?" "Time. Just time. I'm not asking you to forgive me today, or tomorrow, or in a year. I'm just asking that someday, if I deserve it, you give me a chance to show you I can be the son I should have always been." Tears welled up in my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Forgiveness isn't something you give, Evan. It's something you earn. With actions. With time. With real change, I know. And even if you do forgive me someday, things will never be the same as they were. That trust is dead, and it doesn't come back. "I know," he repeated. "But even just to see you every once in a while, to have a coffee, to talk, that would be enough for me." I sat there quietly, thinking. "Come by next Saturday," I said finally. "At 4 in the afternoon. We'll have coffee. Here in the garden. 30 minutes. No more." His eyes lit up. "Really? But if you miss it, if you're late, if you lie to me about anything, no matter how small, it's over. For good. I won't miss it. I promise." "Promises are worthless, Evan. Actions are what matter." He stood up. "Thank you, Mom. Don't thank me. I haven't forgiven anything yet. I'm just considering the possibility." He left. I stayed sitting in the garden, under the bougainvillea, with my heart in a knot. The next Saturday, at 4 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang. It was Evan. Punctual. He had a bouquet of red carnations. My favorite flowers. "These are for you," he said shyly. I took them. "Thank you." Saturday. We had coffee. We talked about simple things. His job. The traffic. The weather. Nothing deep. Nothing painful. Just 30 minutes of normalcy. When he left, I held the carnations in my hands. And for the first time in months, I felt something like hope. The following Saturdays became a routine. Evan arrived on time. We had coffee. We talked. At first, about superficial things. Gradually, about deeper things. He told me about his therapy, about how he was learning to set boundaries, about how Isabella had manipulated him from the beginning, making him believe the world owed him something. But the world doesn't owe anyone anything, he said one Saturday. You taught me that. I just forgot it somewhere along the way. 6 months after that first coffee, on his 39th birthday, I gave him a present, a key. What's this? He asked. The key to the house. It doesn't mean you can live here. It means you can enter, that you're welcome. But with respect, with boundaries, Evan cried. A man of almost 40, crying like a child. Thank you, Mom. Don't thank me. This doesn't erase what happened. It just means I'm willing to build something new. Different. But something. It's more than I deserve. Probably. But that's a mother's love. Stupid. Stubborn. Unconditional. He smiled through his tears. 1 year after the day I kicked him out, Evan invited me to dinner at his apartment. It was small. A studio in Cicero. Clean. Simple. But dignified. He cooked. Chicken chili ferda. Rice. Beans. Just like I taught him as a kid. It's good, I said. I had a good teacher. After dinner, he pulled out an envelope. This is for you. Inside was a check. For $500. It's the first payment on our debt, for what Isabella spent. I know she signed the paper, but it was my responsibility too. I'm going to pay you back every dime. It'll take me years, but I'm going to do it. I took the check. I looked at it, and I tore it in half. What are you doing? Evan asked, alarmed. I don't want your money, Evan. I never did. I wanted your respect. I wanted you to see me, to value me. The money is the least of it. But nothing. Keep that money. Save it. Build your life. That's the best way you can repay me. Evan hugged me, and I let him. Because yes, he had hurt me. He had betrayed me. He had broken my heart. But he was also my son. And a mother's love doesn't just turn off. It just transforms. Today, 2 years after everything that happened, I am 69 years old. My dry cleaners are still running. Silver Dignity has helped over 500 women. Evan comes over for dinner on Sundays. Lauren visits with her kids every 2 months. My house is full again. But this time, it's full of people who respect me, who value me, who truly love me. Isabella never paid a single dollar of her debt. She disappeared. The last we heard, she was in Miami, married to another older man. I wasn't surprised. Some people never change. But Evan did change. Slowly. With hard work. With therapy. With humility. Is our relationship what it was before? No, it never will be. But it's honest. It's real. With clear boundaries. And that, I learned, is worth more than the false harmony of the past. Every night, before I go to sleep, I sit on my bed and look at the photos of Arthur on my dresser. I did it, my love, I tell him. I defended what we built. I defended myself. And I survived. And I know that he, wherever he is proud. Because true wealth isn't in what you own. It's in what you refuse to let anyone take from you. Your dignity. Your respect. Your peace. I am 69 years old. I have 5 dry cleaners. A house in Lincoln Park. Savings in the bank. But the thing I value most isn't on any bank statement. It's in my ability to have stood up when they tried to bury me. It's in having reclaimed my life when they were stealing it. It's in knowing that I can sleep peacefully because I did not let them turn me into a victim. If you are listening to this story and you identify with it, if someone in your family is robbing you, manipulating you, making you feel like you're crazy, listen to me closely. You are not crazy. You are not exaggerating. Your gut instinct is correct, and you have the right to defend yourself. It doesn't matter if it's your son, your grandchild, your sibling, no one, absolutely no one, has the right to strip you of what it took you a lifetime to build. Family love is not submission. It's mutual respect. And when that respect doesn't exist, you have every right to set boundaries, to say enough, to protect yourself. Because getting older doesn't mean becoming invisible. It doesn't mean losing your voice. It doesn't mean becoming easy prey. It means having more experience, more wisdom, more tools to defend yourself. Use them. I did. And today, I'm here, alive, free, dignified. And if I could do it, you can too. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think, if it gave you the strength to defend your own dignity, leave me a comment telling me where you're listening from. I would love to know that these words reached you. Hit that like button if you believe that older women deserve respect, and subscribe to the channel for more real stories just like this. Stories of women who refused to be victims, who stood up, who fought back, because our voices matter, and our stories need to be told. Thank you for listening. And remember, it's never too late to reclaim your dignity. Never. The end.